Marianne Dashwood, one of the two central heroines in Sense and Sensibility, embodies the vibrant quality of sensibility, the emotional and spontaneous counterpart to her sister Eleanor's calm sense. Through Marianne's character, Jane Austen explores the virtues and dangers of emotional excess, the process of moral education, and the necessity of reconciling feeling with reason in the pursuit of happiness. Marianne's narrative arc, from a passionate, impulsive young woman to a humbled and reflective adult, functions as both a critique of romantic idealism and an affirmation of balanced emotional intelligence. Role in the narrative. Marianne's role in the narrative operates on multiple levels. As a foil to Eleanor, as the emotional center of the Dashwood family, and as the moral learner whose transformation provides the novel's central development. At the beginning of the novel, Marianne is characterized by her openness, enthusiasm, and disdain for moderation. She expresses her feelings without restraint, valuing authenticity above propriety. When her family moves to Barton Cottage after the loss of Norland Park, Marianne's romantic imagination immediately seeks expression in nature and poetry. Her meeting with John Willoughby, marked by a dramatic rescue scene in the rain, embodies her ideal of a spontaneous, passionate love that transcends social convention. Willoughby seems the perfect romantic hero, handsome, cultured, and ardent. For Marianne, this connection feels predestined, and she disregards social expectations by openly displaying her affection. Austen uses this early phase of Marianne's story to dramatize the dangers of unchecked sensibility. Marianne's lack of prudence blinds her to Willoughby's flaws and leads to public embarrassment, emotional devastation, and physical illness. Her naivete not only endangers her social reputation, but also inflicts deep suffering upon herself and her family. Through this trajectory, Marianne becomes the vehicle through which Austen demonstrates that emotional sincerity, when ungoverned by reason, can lead to moral and social ruin. In contrast, Eleanor's restraint and composure provide the counterpoint that defines the novel's structure. Eleanor represents sense, while Marianne represents sensibility. Their relationship anchors the novel's thematic contrast. Eleanor's quiet endurance in the face of disappointment serves as a corrective model for Marianne's passionate imprudence. However, Austen ensures that the sisters' roles are not caricatures but evolving principles. Each must learn from the other. By the novel's conclusion, Marianne's acceptance of Colonel Brandon and her tempered outlook reflect the necessary integration of Eleanor's rational sensibility into her own nature. Thus, Marianne's narrative role is that of transformation. She embodies the journey from emotional self-indulgence to moral maturity. Symbolic significance. Symbolically, Marianne represents the extreme of sensibility, an ideal that Austen both critiques and redeems. Her sensibility is initially portrayed as beautiful but dangerous, a quality that fosters sincerity and emotional depth but risks self-destruction when detached from moral reason. Through Marianne, Austen explores the cultural transition between the sentimentalism of the late 18th century and the rational moral realism that defines her own age. In this light, Marianne's journey from passionate recklessness to reflective balance mirrors England's cultural movement away from the sentimental excesses of Romanticism toward a more disciplined moral vision. She symbolizes the human tendency to learn wisdom through suffering, a concept that Austen's readers would have recognized as a Christian-inflected moral education. Her suffering purifies her heart, transforming impulsive emotion into conscientious feeling. This shift also underscores Austen's moral philosophy. True virtue lies not in suppressing feeling, but in governing it with reason and empathy. Marianne's relationship with Willoughby carries symbolic weight as well. Willoughby represents the seductive charm of unprincipled passion, an image of pleasure divorced from responsibility. In contrast, Colonel Brandon embodies constancy, integrity, and emotional depth that have survived experience. When Marianne finally appreciates Brandon's steadfastness, she symbolically embraces a more mature form of love rooted in respect rather than infatuation. Her acceptance of Brandon signifies her moral awakening and the reconciliation of sense and sensibility within her own character. Broader implications. Marianne's story has broader implications beyond individual moral growth. Through her, Austen critiques the social expectations placed upon women and the romantic ideologies that both entice and endanger them. The cult of sensibility, while ostensibly celebrating women's emotional richness, also left them vulnerable, encouraging dependence on male approval and fostering ideals of love that overlooked practical realities, such as economic security and social status. Marianne's romantic folly is not simply personal but cultural. She is a product of sentimental education that prizes feeling over judgment. Austen's portrayal of Marianne therefore serves as a cautionary tale about the need for emotional and moral education, particularly for women navigating a world that limits their agency. By the novel's end, Marianne's transformation into a more measured and self-disciplined woman reflects Austen's vision of ethical maturity, a synthesis of feeling and reason that enables one to act responsibly in society. Moreover, Marianne's reconciliation with Eleanor represents not merely sisterly harmony, but the novel's moral resolution. The union of sense and sensibility, reason and emotion, judgment and compassion, embodies Austen's ideal of balanced humanity. In learning from Eleanor, Marianne transcends her earlier egoism and gains the capacity for genuine moral sympathy. Her development reaffirms Austen's belief that true happiness arises not from romantic intensity, but from moral integrity and self-knowledge. Conclusion. Marianne Dashwood's character arc in Sense and Sensibility is both a moral education and a cultural allegory. She begins as the radiant yet reckless spirit of sensibility, passionate, sincere, and naive, and ends as a wiser, more self-aware woman who understands that genuine love requires constancy, humility, and moral fortitude. Her journey illustrates Austen's central theme, that neither sense nor sensibility alone can lead to happiness, but only their harmony. Through Marianne, Austen critiques the excesses of romantic idealism, while preserving its emotional truth. She transforms sensibility from a source of folly into a foundation for moral feeling. In doing so, Marianne becomes more than a literary character. She becomes a symbol of human growth, the reconciliation of heart and mind, and the enduring power of moral awakening in the face of suffering.